2025 WNBA Finals presented by YouTube TV. We'll begin with remarks from Commissioner Cathy Engelbert, and then we'll turn it over to question and answer. Please have.
Imagine being handed the key to $1 billion future, a guaranteed path to mainstream dominance, and choosing not to use it. That was the exact crossroads where the WNBA suddenly found itself. The league had been given that key, a once-in-a-generation superstar and cultural sensation named Caitlin Clark. With global attention locked in for the first time, Commissioner Cathy Engelbert presided over a decision so shocking and confusing that it left both longtime supporters and brand-new fans asking one troubling question. Was the WNBA actually undermining its own momentum? For years, the league had battled tirelessly for media exposure, sponsorship money, and ticket-buying audiences. Then, almost overnight, one player altered everything. This wasn't merely about a single Olympic roster decision. It represented a defining moment that could shape the direction of women's sports for the next 2 decades. The choice that followed ignited intense debate, controversy, and frustration that still hasn't cooled. What unfolded behind closed doors within USA basketball and WNBA leadership circles proved far more surprising, far more political, and far more revealing than anyone initially expected. It all started when a phenomenon unlike anything the sport had ever experienced stepped onto floor. Caitlin Clark wasn't just a standout college athlete. She became a cultural earthquake, a movement wrapped in sneakers. Her performances for the Iowa Hawkeyes didn't simply break women's basketball ratings. They shattered overall basketball viewership records. Her final appearance in the 2024 NCAA Women's Championship averaged 18.9 million viewers and peaked at an astonishing 24 million. To understand how massive that number was, it became the most watched basketball broadcast of any kind in the United States in 5 years. It drew more viewers than several NBA Finals games, more attention than the Masters closing rounds, and more eyes than deciding World Series matchups. The message from fans across America couldn't have been clearer. People didn't just want basketball. They wanted Caitlin Clark. When she was selected first overall by the struggling Indiana Fever, that energized fan base followed immediately into the WNBA. Suddenly, a league that had spent decades fighting niche sport labels became the hottest attraction in sports. Her professional debut on ESPN2 averaged 2.1 million viewers, making it the most watched WNBA game in over 20 years. Teams that once played before modest crowds scrambled to relocate games against Indiana into NBA arenas to accommodate massive demand. Thousands of new fans packed buildings, eager to witness her deep-range three-pointers in person. Her number 22 jersey sold out on Fanatics within an hour of the draft, and it didn't just lead sales. It outsold every other player in the league combined. She became a one-person economic engine, forcing the league to reconsider long-standing issues like charter flights due to safety and logistical concerns surrounding the sport's most recognizable female athlete flying commercially. The Caitlin Clark effect was undeniable, measurable, and arguably the greatest opportunity the league had ever received. Yet while fans, broadcasters, and sponsors celebrated her arrival, a very different atmosphere began forming within the league itself. Among players who stood to gain the most from her popularity, tension quietly grew. While the public saw a red carpet welcome, behind the scenes a far more hostile introduction seemed to take shape. From the opening moments of her first game, she became a target. The physical play directed toward her went well beyond standard rookie treatment or typical welcome to the league toughness. She was bumped, shoved, elbowed, and knocked down repeatedly, with a frequency that quickly raised eyebrows and sparked conversations across the basketball world. Often without a whistle from officials, almost as though they were participating in an unspoken initiation. Veteran players appeared to form a quiet agreement to push her limits, to challenge her resilience, to demonstrate that the professional level was an entirely different environment where collegiate fame carried no weight. But one particular moment shattered any illusion and exposed the raw hostility being directed toward her in full public view. During a nationally televised matchup against the Chicago Sky, Kennedy Carter stood waiting for the inbound pass while Clark lingered nearby, not defending her and not involved in the play. In a sudden burst of aggression, Carter delivered a forceful blindside shoulder check followed by a verbal jab that sent Clark crashing onto the court. There was no basketball move involved, no attempt at the ball, just a deliberate cheap shot away from the action. Officials surprisingly ruled it a common foul, a decision so questionable that league officials, facing massive backlash, later upgraded it to a flagrant foul after review. The incident itself was troubling, but the aftermath revealed even more. Carter declined to address questions about the play during her press conference, maintaining a telling silence. Even more striking, teammate Angel Reese, Clark's former college rival, appeared to support the confrontation. This went beyond physical defense. It felt deeply personal, a signal not only to Clark, but also to the millions of new viewers tuning in. The tension unfolding on the court reflected a much larger struggle developing behind the scenes, a clash of influence and perspective that would soon lead to a decision shocking enough to stun the entire sports landscape. As emotions continued to escalate, a major international event approached, the 2024 Paris Olympics. For elite athletes, representing their nation on that stage is the ultimate accomplishment. For a star with Clark's unprecedented popularity, her selection seemed inevitable to fans, analysts, and executives alike. It appeared to be a question of timing rather than possibility. Team USA women's basketball had built a dynasty, dominating global competition for years, and adding the most watched basketball player in the world seemed like an obvious enhancement. Her deep shooting range would challenge international defenses, but the decision also extended far beyond strategy. It represented an enormous opportunity for growth. The Olympics offered a global platform capable of introducing Clark, and by extension the WNBA, to billions of viewers worldwide. NBC executives reportedly anticipated enormous ratings potential, imagining dedicated coverage tracking her every move and attracting casual fans from across the globe who had only heard about the Iowa sensation. Her selection wasn't just anticipated. It was viewed as a strategic necessity for expanding women's basketball's reach. The stage appeared perfectly prepared for a worldwide breakthrough, a moment that would transform her from national superstar to international icon, while bringing new fans to the WNBA. Or so everyone believed. Then, on a quiet weekend morning, the roster leaked, sending shockwaves through the sports world. The 12-player lineup for Team USA was revealed, and Clark's name was absent. The immediate reaction was disbelief, quickly followed by widespread outrage. How could the most influential and popular player in the sport be left off the team? The decision seemed to contradict basketball logic, business sense, and common understanding. The roster featured established stars and longtime veterans, including legends like Diana Taurasi and Brittany Griner, leaving fans stunned and sparking a firestorm spread across media and social platforms. And Breanna Stewart, all remarkable competitors, champions, and unquestionably deserving athletes. Yet none of them carried anything close to the cultural pull, celebrity influence, or audience-drawing power that Caitlin Clark brought with her. Not even remotely. Excluding her felt less like a decision rooted in basketball merit, and more like something personal, a calculated political move. It landed like a harsh blow not only to Clark herself, but also to the millions of new fans she had personally introduced to the sport. Fans who suddenly felt the player they followed most wasn't welcome on the biggest global stage. The reaction was immediate, massive, and intense. Sports shows, national news outlets, and social media erupted into non-stop debate. The story quickly moved beyond sports, transforming into a broader discussion about gatekeeping, jealousy, and what many viewed as a staggering leadership failure. By making that choice, the committee unintentionally created a public relations disaster and handed critics fresh ammunition to argue that the WNBA remained an insular, resistant organization unwilling to embrace change or mainstream success. What followed only deepened the controversy. Facing mounting criticism and accusations of deliberate snub, USA basketball officials were forced to provide an explanation, but the reasoning offered felt weak and unconvincing. Anonymous sources cited her limited professional experience, noting she had played only a handful of WNBA games at the time, while also referencing team chemistry, suggesting that adding such a high-profile media magnet might disrupt the veteran-heavy roster. However, those justifications quickly unraveled under scrutiny. Analysts pointed out that previous stars like Breanna Stewart in 2016 and Candace Parker in 2008 had also made Olympic teams as rookies with minimal professional experience, making the argument inconsistent at best. The chemistry explanation felt even more transparent, interpreted by many as a polite way of saying veteran players didn't want her included. This perception fed into an already growing narrative that established stars felt resentment toward Clark's sudden rise and overwhelming media attention. The unspoken belief was that decision-makers feared the massive spotlight she would bring to Paris, feared the criticism if she received limited playing time, and perhaps most importantly feared upsetting influential veterans, especially Diana Taurasi, who appeared unwilling to pass the spotlight to the next generation. The official reasoning began to look like a smokescreen hiding deeper issues rooted in politics, personal tension, and jealousy. Yet the response from the one individual capable of calming the storm proved even more revealing. As backlash intensified, attention turned toward WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert. This moment presented an opportunity to lead, to control the narrative, to defend the league's most valuable asset, and to reassure new fans that the WNBA was ready for unprecedented growth. Instead, the public received cautious, corporate messaging that felt detached and ineffective. Engelbert defended the selection process and shifted focus toward players who made the roster, avoiding the core issue fueling the outrage. She missed a chance to acknowledge Clark's massive impact and highlight excitement for her future with Team USA. She could have positioned the league as a proud home of the sport's most talked-about athlete, yet instead chose careful, bureaucratic language that satisfied no one and intensified frustration. This became the real turning point. Not merely a committee leaving a star off a roster, but leadership appearing to protect established power at the expense of a generational talent. The muted response sent a clear signal that league leadership struggled to manage the phenomenon placed before them. It marked a critical leadership failure at one of the most important growth moments in league history, and the consequences extended far beyond a single Olympic roster. The decision represented a massive marketing and financial misstep, potentially worth billions, one that the league and its broadcast partners could regret for years. The Olympic Games are,